Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the great George DiGianni. He is a household name in America. He's a very successful business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. His story just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
All right, I'm so excited about this next show. He's been a friend of mine for many, many years. George DiGianni is in the studio, and for many, many years he branded himself as a health expert, but now he's really helping businesses with their health because many CEOs and C-suite executives have blind spots, and they bring in somebody like George. George, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm thrilled about this. Let's start at the very beginning because I learned something about you before the show. You were a cop at one point.
Yeah, I was a cop in Newark, New Jersey. I've seen more death than I have hair on my head at a very young age. And people just don't realize what cops go through, especially during that time. It was during when AIDS was, starting to ramp up, and people would spit in your eye and try to give you AIDS. It was really, wow. It was a dangerous time back then. And especially as a kid, and then moving to Dallas, I had that mentality of never having my back to the door, and just, it really forms a personality that nobody else can relate to, especially if you're going from a real hard area to a nice place in Dallas that's just relaxed and,
Well, it looks like you've always been in shape.
Yeah.
So when did the health part of your journey start?
When I was young, I had some bullying. I was 16 years old, insecure, and always lived in fear. And it was just that culture, just very hard culture. It was an oppressive culture, still is to this day. That's just that mentality in certain parts of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. So I got into lifting weights at 16, martial arts at 17 or 18. You don't know this, but I was on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Really?
Yeah, did some crazy martial arts stuff and Shellis Heineman is a dear friend of mine. I'm a godfather to his daughter, and he was the head coach of SMU soccer, and then FC Dallas soccer also. Some of the training that we did to show our mental toughness and so on. So without getting hurt, getting hit to certain vital areas of the body. So yeah, I did some crazy stuff. And back then, to your point, what made me get into health and wellness was the ego, the fear. I had to be the biggest, the baddest person around.
Yes.
In my mind, I did, modeling all that stuff that I did at a young age, when really you didn't need to do all of that stuff. And as I grew, I went to therapy at age 28 and really grew and recognized that the world wasn't out to get me. I was able to slowly, over years, decades, lose the fear of not having my back to the door, and just all that mentality, right?
Yes. And you became a household name on the ticket.
Yeah.
We're going to put some video up. How many years did you do the ticket?
I was on the ticket for 20 years. I had my own radio show on the ticket. Oh my God, look at that.
Hadn't changed.
Yeah, I was there 1998 to 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, good years.
Good years.
Top rated show.
We had a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I don't want to make you name drop, but you've had the chance to work with some big names.
I did. So I had my training back then, but I've also gone into coaching and consulting and built that into businesses that were not service oriented. But I launched my first company in 2003, did really well with that, made $487,000 my first year, no employees, no inventory, built that. Graduated from Harvard Business School late in life, but I did that. And then I launched my second company, which is a software company in genetics. So we create health management solutions based on your genes. Jeff, here's how you need to eat, exercise, and supplement based on your genetic profile. Well, I'm a non-operator of that business. And for the last 20, 21 years, I've been continuing my keynote speaking, my coaching, and my consulting.
Yes.
And so that's where I really help companies with my repeatable processes, my modulars that I have to also become successful. Because the big focus I have is where I help companies identify their blind spots, their current norm, so they can create a new norm.
Yes.
Okay. And then also for them to identify why they have such a high attrition and what we can do about that. Because it's usually a broken system. When you have a broken system, you focus on the wrong priorities, you execute the wrong priorities, you're hiring correctly, right?
Yes.
And so those are the things that we like to focus on. And I always ask companies, what is your conviction? And if you don't know what your conviction is your why in action. So if you can identify your conviction, core values, mission, vision, distinct competencies, and communicate that throughout the company and hire with that as your constitution. You don't know this either, but for a very short time, I taught at SMU Cox Business School. And two things I would say. Number one, I started with, I'm not yelling, I'm Italian, okay? And then the second one is I would talk about how I didn't care about someone's skills. You send me a piece of paper with your resume, that's a marketing profile. I need to know what your values are and if you align with my vision and mission and values and so on. Because if I hire based on that and fire based on that constitution, I know I'm going to get a better output.
Yes.
Right? Because when it comes to your culture is not an input, it's an output. You can tell it to act a certain way, but at the end of the day, culture recognizes what you as a company or as a leader tolerate. And then they will form their own characters, if you will.
So powerful. You just wrote a book. Let's go ahead and hold that up so
Yeah.
people can see it, and we're going to put this on the screen.
Potentially You.
I love that name. Okay.
Making goal-achieving decisions through strategic discomfort. So I have a modular I created called my goal compression protocol, where we bring your 10-year goals to within 4 years. And it gets quite uncomfortable because you have to have a lot of courage to do this. You know, if you're going to put yourself out of business, that's one of the questions that we ask from an employee net provider protocol. Ask yourself, what is it I would stop doing? And what is it that I would start doing if I'm going to put my own company out of business?
Wow.
If you want to bring your 10-year goals to within 4 years, do you have the courage? Well, let's create a scenario. You've been here for a while. You've got a very successful business. You have family working here. But if you had a 10-year goal that was so important that you needed to bring it to within 4 years, do the current people you have the talent, the fortitude, and the drive to help you fulfill that in that period of time? And if they don't, the uncomfortable question is, do you have the courage to move them laterally within the company, or have the discomfort and moving them outside of the company?
Wow.
Right, and bringing other people in who can advance you to that level that you want. How important is that 10-year goal? Bring it to within 4 years.
That's so powerful. Okay, George, we're going to pull up your website as we scroll on the website. Tell us about the kinds of clients that you like to attract.
So I've worked with $100 million companies. I've worked with startups. To me, it's not about, and it's a great question, Jeff, because for me, it's not about the widget.
Yes.
I own a software company in genetics. I'm not an IT guy. I'm not a software guy. So what I did, again, when I used to teach, is I always say, hire people who have the strengths to fill the gaps within your weaknesses. Okay, and that's what I did. I hired people who had the integrity, the experience that I didn't have, the technical people I don't have, the doctors and so on.
Yes.
And I don't run that company. I'm not in daily ops. So if you can do that and you understand business, the model of business and how to grow business and how to coach people through growing their business,
Yes.
then you learn about the widget. But you don't need to know the widget first. And so we look at a low self-monitor and a high self-monitor.
Yes.
So the low self-monitor is usually a leader who's stuck in their story. I call them identity constraints. This is the way we've always done it. Here's our habits. This is what's worked for us. But life is dynamic, right? And so we need to make sure that what we're doing isn't just static, that we're moving along with the times, but never losing the foundation we created, going back to that mission, vision, core values, distinct competencies, right?
Nice.
And making sure that everybody's in alignment, like you don't have fractured alignment and high attrition with talent. Because there are so many people I've met with, multi-million-dollar companies and startups alike, who say that there's a talent shortage. There's no talent shortage. If you have a broken system, then you're not hiring properly to attract the right talent and keep the right talent. And I think that's what's really most important, because we know for a fact, purpose-driven companies with a conviction have a 5 to 7 time higher market outperformance over their competitors.
Yes.
5 to 7 times more, just because they were purpose driven. They make decisions and priorities based on that conviction. It's quite powerful.
It is. It is. We've got you give away the gold, so you create a lot of content. I found a little clip. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Before I was hired to get on the radio, I went through 13 weeks of speech therapy. Most people don't know that. To learn how to open my mouth and speak like this, when you want to impress upon someone a specific message, depending on the length of your discussion, you want to mention that one specific thing 3 to 10 or 20 times. So if you have a 40-minute talk, you'll want to make sure you keep revisiting that thing, whatever that thing is you're trying to impress upon someone, 20 times, because people only remember 10% of what you share with them. I have my goal compression program, which is where I will help you compress your 10-year goals into 4 years. The number one guy doesn't make the company.
Right.
He doesn't make the entire team.
Right.
If you have one person that you're relying on, you got the wrong company, the wrong attitude, the wrong culture, all of that. I'll tell you, one of the worst things you can do is go to therapy. One of the best things you can do is go to therapy.
Yeah.
But you know what your problem is? You're speaking logically. Stop it.
Brilliant. All right, George, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you were giving a TED Talk right now and you had 15 minutes, there's a stopwatch on you, what would you tell the audience?
I would say that there are several things. I like stats, right? I'm a data guy. Fortune 500 study showed that executives who hired executive coaching had a 529% ROI.
Wow.
So it's helping, again, someone who comes in and it's that ignorance is bliss. They come in and ask stupid questions, but that's the point, right? In Harvard, Harvard Law came up with the Socratic method, right? Ask questions leading people in the direction that they need to go or want to go or should go, whatever that is, right? So instead of telling you from a consulting approach with my business prowess, let's use the coaching approach and ask questions that help you come up with answers that might be uncomfortable, but you know the answers you need, again, in my goal compression module to bring your 10-year goals to within 4. I want to tell you a super fast story. There was a company that hired me. They had 2 high performers in their sales team. The number 1 person was $3 to $3.5 million ahead of the number 2 person for several years in a row. A leadership position came open, CSO, Chief Sales Officer. And they had a little bit of a dilemma, not much, because we had been working together for 5 months. And they said, George, had we not used you, we would have hired the first person in that leadership position. Well, the first person was not a team player. People liked him, but not a team player. The second person, team player, culture liked her, and they wound up hiring her knowing that they would probably lose the first person. And they did within 4 months. But they recognized that it helped the culture and everybody started performing better. If your company is reliant on one person, you've got a broken system, right? And I just think that's really important for people to recognize, because if you look at Tony Hesh, I think that's how you say his name, from Zappos, he's not with us any longer.
Yes.
He said to Amazon before they would be acquired, one condition, do not change our culture. And they did it for a number of years, and then they did, right? So I think it's really important for people to recognize that when you have a culture, it's not input, it's output, it's how you hire, it's about your system. Because we know today that, as stats are, Gallup poll, only 19% of people recognize or trust their leaders. That means 81% have a trust deficit.
Wow.
That's scary if you're a business owner. So I want to share this. When I was in Harvard Business School, I graduated years ago, but a good friend of mine that I met there, you talk about quintessential American story, this is him. He and his brother came here from Croatia, $5 each in their pocket. They needed to find a job immediately in housing. Did a very low-level job drying off cars at a car wash. This will make you think twice about people that we see in a low-level job, okay? A few months later, they go work for a convenience store or something like that. Within a year, they go work to broker a trucking company to broker trucks. They're pounding the phones, very competitive. They're there for several years, making some really good money. They found a niche and said to their direct report, hey, you're missing some money here. We think we can all make some more money here. You should go in this direction. They didn't listen to them. They said something again about a month or 2 later. They said, just pound the phones. So my friend and his brother left, maxed out their credit cards, bought one truck, $18,000. And by the time he was in business school in his latter 30s, his company was worth $400 million. Today, that company's worth $1.4 billion. Wow. The niche, all they were doing was trucking medical supplies to hospitals and other medical facilities. All because a direct report felt threatened by them, or that they were not good enough, that they were low-level people. And I would bet you $1 that the head of that company doesn't know that these people had that idea.
Incredible. Incredible. Give us more.
So when we talk about Tony Hesh and then I talk about Eldon, I want to talk about when I was in business school, my leadership professor, which is our former Dallas Fed chair, Robert Kaplan. He said leaders fail for two reasons. And then I found a third one. Isolation is the number one. 8 billion people on the planet. I have this idealistic thought that it doesn't matter who you know, it matters who knows you. Your character, how you perform, how you work, and your success, and then they want to groom you. Number two, inability to learn. You can't learn, you don't want to learn. You know all 8 billion people, but you can't learn, don't want to learn. That's why you fail. Number three, inability to execute. You're a genius, you know everybody on the planet, but you can't execute. You fail as a leader. And so that's why I talk about conviction and a system that needs to be developed, because if the system is broken, then it won't be communicated on your website, throughout your marketing material, throughout the company. And we know for a fact now through studies or Gallup polls, a poor mid-level hire loses $240,000.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. A poor promotion to a C-level position, not only do you lose the amount of money you put them there, 500,000 or whatever it is, but now you're affecting the culture.
Wow. That's shocking.
It says a whole lot about people who don't know their conviction or don't hire properly. It's not a hiring manager's fault.
No.
It's a leadership issue.
All right, keep going. You're on a roll.
So, so I want to talk about Elon Musk for a moment. Everybody should go online and find Elon's Optimus link. It's literally 2 minutes long. And the people who are interviewed have so much pride. They tell you what they're doing. They align with the mission. They love the vision. They tell you everything about robotics that they're doing. When these people go out for happy hour, do you think they just say, oh, I work in robotics?
No.
No, they're bragging about the company. And you've got to see this video, okay? If you own a company or you're a lead in a company and your people are just going to happy hour and asking, hey, what do you do? What do you do? And they just say, oh, I work in IT or I'm in sales. Right. And they're not bragging, you have a broken system.
Yes.
So let's look at the system. Let's fix the system. I just think that that's so much more important. And we also know that for people who have a coaching culture, so you bring someone like me in to do keynote speaking or coaching for you and your leadership team, there's a 70% improvement in individual performance.
Wow.
There's a 22% increase in bottom line profitability. So when we talk about my goal compression protocol and everything else, all these modules that I have, it depends on what the company needs.
Yes.
Right? Never tell a company what they need. Ask them, do a diagnostic, and then let's go in and find out how we can best help you achieve those goals in a much shorter period of time.
All right, keep rocking and rolling.
I think that's that. You know, the only thing I want to say is my book is called Potentially You, just to say it again, making goal-achieving decisions through strategic discomfort. Right? And so if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing, you're not advancing.
All right, let's do this in the last 2 minutes. That's your camera on the left, George. Talk to that CEO or C-suite that might need to bring you in.
I'd say first, identify, and I'm sure you've done this, identify your data and where your issues are. Do you think you have a talent management issue? Do you think you have a lack of talent issue? Is your attrition high? When you have a sales manager who's not doing well for the past quarter or 2 quarters, is he or she trying to hire more salespeople? If so, you have a broken system. Let's not decrease your margin and then have more fractured culture. So how can you have a better system if you're not aware of your current norm and create a new norm? And that's where I come in, and hopefully I can add value to your life. I have this belief, 2 things. Number 1, I always add value before asking for value. Number 2, people who like you will listen to you. They'll take a call. They'll go to lunch with you, but people who respect you will take action. So if you want to raise money for your company, the people who like you might not invest, people who respect you, they'll want to hire you, they'll want to invest in your company. There's a big difference between being liked and being respected.
Wow, I can see why you're so successful. Thank you
Thanks,
so much
bud.
for coming on the show. We're going to end with his website, which is DiGianni.com.
Yes.
Great, George.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming on
Thank you
the
very
show.
much.
All right, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.